Dybantsa, 3 on the what a move and finish. Now the #1 pick, AJ Dybantsa. Got clock at 4. Peterson pass to Hoist. Dybantsa against Peterson. That gets the crowd going. Dybantsa spins against him. Misses the shot though. Dybantsa finishes with 27 and a win for Washington.
Me beat me 3 times previous, so this is my first win. I was about to come out on top.
Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome to First Take. I'm Jess Sims. We got David Dennis Jr., Vince Goodwill. Wendy's going to be joining us a bit later. Y'all, we got to get right into it, though, because there's a lot to discuss. Already, it was a big night in the NBA as the top 2 picks, AJ Dybantsa and Darren Peterson, faced off in the Summer League. Dybantsa led all scorers with 27 points and also added 7 rebounds in 26 minutes, leading the Wizards to a 92-88 win. Peterson also flashed his potential, finishing with 24 points, though he did also commit 8 turnovers in the loss. It was just in the second game of the Summer League history where the top 2 picks in the draft recorded dueling 20-point games. Now, Dybantsa didn't finish the game, guys, because of leg soreness, but he did say he was good and he will play in the Wizards' next game on Sunday. So, David, how much stock are you putting in Dybantsa's performance last night?
Yeah, I love what I saw from Dybantsa last night. Like, when I watch Summer League, sometimes the raw numbers, I'd pay a little bit less attention to that. Like, I think about Wemby struggling in his first game, Cooper Flagg struggling to shoot. Dybantsa didn't make a lot of jump shots, hardly any jump shots. What I saw from him was a guy who was really amped up for that game. Like, you could talk about how much Peterson wanted to play him. He was really on fire coming out the gate, but he was able to play within himself despite all of that. And there was a bounce pass he had in the first quarter. Like, this was a really poised, veteran-like performance in the first game of Summer League from him. And on top of that, nobody could stay in front of this dude at any point in that game. He looked pretty much unstoppable. The bag work is there. Even though he missed those jumpers, he got exactly to the spot that he wanted. But again, for me, it was about the fact that this was a high-priority game. A lot of eyes were on it. People were expecting a duel, and I think he played really well and within the course of the game, which to me shows this guy, as we already knew this, but is more proof that he is basketball NBA ready.
I propose we get rid of the phrase bag work. I never want to hear that phrase ever again for the rest of my natural life.
He was in his bag. He was in the go yard, Vinny.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah. Yes.
Yard.
David was also the person yesterday that said the Washington Wizards were going to be top 6 in the Eastern Conference this year.
Hey, you never
You
know.
are excluded from basketball opinions for 24 hours. All right. Now, real talk. I did talk to a head coach yesterday, and I said, when you want to see your top players play in a summer league game, like you said, playing with the numbers and everything else, what do you want to see? And this is what he told me. He said reads are the most important thing. How they see the game instinctively. Right decisions with the ball, movement off the ball, plus poise and communication. Check, 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 check. The thing for me with AJ Dybantsa was this. It was very simple. He was able to play with contact, playing through contact. He had English around the rim. The reverse showed that he's able to use the rim as a shield. There's an adult-like approach to his game. There's a sophistication to his game, even though he has a lot of raw talent. And a lot of those fouls that weren't called are going to be called in the NBA, because in the NBA they call fouls, and in Summer League it's prison ball. So I am pleasantly surprised that with his frame, that he was able to play through contact, absorb it, go seek it out. He looks like a pro. He does not look like a college player who was just playing college basketball 3 or 4 months ago. He looks like he is ready to step on the floor and hopefully be able to play off of a guy like Trae Young, who's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more than he will and to start off his rookie season.
How you gonna tell me no basketball opinion and then agree with everything I just said for what we saw?
No, what I said was I don't want to hear bag work.
Look.
I don't want to hear bag work from you or anybody.
Read my lips. He was in the go yard bag. The guy has just an array, an arsenal of getting to the spot that he needs to get to. That is, again, something that a lot of guys do not have coming into the league. And again, they could not stay in front of him. He's finding the open guy. This dude will fit so well in that Washington Wizards roster, even with Trae Young being a little ball dominant. AJ Dybantsa, he can play, it seems like, with a lot of different guys. I love what they're going to have there with that Washington squad. I do think that they are going to be I do think that they are going to be a play-in, at the very least, team in the East. There's a little bit of modification, a play-in team in the East. East is very deep, got a lot of players, a lot of movement in the offseason, as we know. But the fit there with Young, with Anthony Davis, of course, we got to have questions about the injuries and things like that. But this is a good team with a guy who can be a difference maker. What I saw last night is a guy that it is not an if when we're talking about All-NBA. It is a win. At some point, this dude's going to be an All-NBA player.
It's one summer league game.
It is.
It's in July. I'm with you in general on how optimistic he looks. Like, sometimes these are lose-lose situations. If you play well, we say, oh, it's just summer league. If you play bad, we're like, man, this guy's not a pro. So there's not much upside there. The fact is that he belonged. He didn't look physically overwhelmed by the physicality. He looked like he was able to deliver some of the physicality. That's the most important thing to me. He looks like he belongs, and and David is right. He does have a handle. He can get to where he wants to get to on the floor, and he has touch around the rim. Those are things that most impress me.
So let's settle this.
You said David is right.
Y'all agree with each other. Okay, yes. And we also agree because he ties Blake Griffin's 2009 most points scored by a number 1 draft pick, which is very, very promising, of course, since the Summer League debut, which started in 2004.
I would say we didn't agree with each other.
Okay, well, now let's talk Peterson, y'all. So we talked and we mentioned about the turnovers he had. He had 8. He also committed 9 fouls. What concerns do you have from the overall pick, second pick, Vinny?
Not much, because you look at the turnovers, and he's had a lot of turnovers in the 3 games dating back to the Summer League and Salt Lake. I don't think he's going to be playing full-time point guard. I know he wants to play with the ball in his hands a lot more, and he will. But they have Keontae George, like, he's going to play with the ball in his hands. He's a guy who can play lead guard. You want him being in positions where he can make plays. He is a creative passer, but you want him being in a position to score. He's not a point guard. I know he likes to think and fancy himself as someone who can play point guard. He wants to play with the ball in his hands. But I think as he starts, when you're playing with Jaren Jackson Jr. and you're playing with Lauri Markkanen, you're playing with guys who are ready to play. This team, Utah, is not going to be ready to sit any longer. They've been tanking for the past couple of years. While you can be patient with him through some of those rookie mistakes, you want him in attack mode. I don't want him to feel like he has to be the main table setter and playmaker for a team while he's growing into his position.
Now, we have to welcome in the voice of reason amongst this group right here. Wendy, what are your thoughts on Peterson?
So I've been very, very impressed with him this week. I think he's absolutely got an incredible offensive skill set that I would not be surprised if either he or Dybantsa immediately start averaging over 20 in the NBA. And that's saying something considering they're both joining teams that have 2 All-Stars on them. And I still stand by that. What I'll say about Peterson, and I could go on and on about what he's done offensively, the Jazz, I think, are thinking about using him as a primary ball handler and even like part-time point guard. And this week, I think maybe should get them to consider making that a more of a long-range thing. He did have a game in Salt Lake where he had 12 assists, which was excellent because one of the things that was, he was attacked for coming out of Kansas was he didn't get assists. So he showed in that game, he goes, I can create for other people. But he had a very typical rookie high turnover start to this summer league. He has 18 turnovers in the 3 games, two games with 8 turnovers in them, including last night. And one thing that you saw last night was the Wizards came in trying to play more physical on him. They actually had a little game plan for him and were way more physical with him than the teams were out in Salt Lake. So, I am super duper excited about both of these guys. I think both of them are slated to have breakout, huge rookie seasons. But Peterson, 8 turnovers in 30 minutes last night, an illustration of where he's got a weakness he's got to work on.
Yeah, Peterson's, I guess, flaws, if you can call them that, were all young guy flaws. I mean, when you have a rookie that comes into the league, they're going to foul, and then they're going to turn the ball over. We just saw Stephon Castle in the finals when he had the ball in his hands. The big problem he had was turnovers, and San Antonio is going to work with him in the offseason to correct that. Peterson has time to correct these things. The other thing that I think was youthful out of him was he was more amped up than Dybantsa was for this matchup. He came out the gate super aggressive, and there are a lot of possessions where he just had the ball, didn't pass anybody, and he wanted this to be a duel. Again, this is a guy who kind of played outside of himself and played outside the game plan because he wanted this to be a one-on-one thing. All three of those things, the fouls, the turnovers, the dueling, getting your team sort of out of it, these are all young guy things. But again, what I saw is a guy who can put the ball in the basket, who could score. And even though he had some of those turnovers, he had the right idea on where he wanted the ball to go. The execution just wasn't there. So if I'm Utah, I'm looking at this and I'm saying at some point, this guy could be our point guard and he could handle the ball. Similar, like I said, to the way that San Antonio is looking at Stephon Castle and the way that he played come playoff time.
Not saying that this is an apples to apples comparison, but a lot of times teams will put a veteran next to a player that they want to take over for that point guard spot a little bit later. Like a notable example for me, since I'm old, Orlando, when they drafted Penny Hardaway #1 or traded for Penny Hardaway #1 in 1993, they had Scott Skiles as the point guard, and Penny played off the ball for the first half of his rookie year. Then he turned into the point guard later for his rookie year. By year 2, he was all NBA. By year 2, they were in the NBA Finals. Not saying that's going to happen here. I think with Peterson, his most pro quality is being able to put the ball in the basket. You want him to be in attack mode all the time, especially with a Utah team. They've been so bad for the past few years, we don't think of them as being a legitimately run organization. But despite the fact that they lost Walker Kessler, they traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. last year. You held on to Lauri Markkanen. That's a pro front court with dynamicism and also a lot of versatility. You want all three of those guys to be able to grow together and be competitive this year. You don't want to feel like you're holding Darren Peterson's hand playing that point guard position. I think he's going to be fine.
So obviously really great starts for both Dybantsa and Peterson. David, I know it's early, do you have an idea who is going to have the better rookie season?
So this is splitting hairs. I think both of these guys are going to have great rookie seasons, and we'll be having the same debate, I think, at the end of the season in terms of who's going to be rookie of the year. It's going to be that close. I'm going to give the slight edge to Dybantsa. Part of for what Vinny said in terms of like having those veterans there, having guys that can handle the ball. Like you're going to have Trae Young there who can handle the ball. The turnovers are not going to be the same. There's not going to be experimenting as much in terms of what is Dybantsa's position going to be on the floor. It's kind of a ready-made spot. You have your guards, you have your bigs, and you have Dybantsa as a wing. He is going to affect winning in a very impactful way. He is going to be able to, have an easier load on him. You're not going to be able to just double team him and load up on him because Trae Young's going to have the ball and Anthony Davis theoretically will be out there. Sarr, I think, is a really good up-and-coming player also. There's just a lot of pieces for that Wizard squad. Dybantsa will be able to pick his spots, get to the spots he wants, play off ball a little bit more, and it's just a perfect fit for him.
What are your thoughts, Vinny?
I still think, I believe in both of these guys. I don't want to make it seem like we're pitting two players against one another. I love AJ Dybantsa's game. I wonder how many opportunities are going to be there because Trae Young is going to be trying to reestablish himself after the year that he had or the injuries that he's had. Assuming Anthony Davis is healthy and he doesn't get a contract extension this offseason, he's going to be playing for a contract extension. Utah feels a little bit more stable as far as organizationally, not players who have just come together like they are in Washington. I'm not saying that the Wizards are going to be bad or it's going to be infertile ground. I think Peterson, because he has the ability to score, and that is his pro skill, and we know that is his pro skill, I feel like once they figure that out, he has a very Ray Allen, to me, like skill set. He can get it off the bounce, a very smooth game. I think he's going to have a developing three-point shot. He's going to be an apt three-point shooter from the moment he steps on the floor. I think both of these guys are going to be fantastic. I think both of these guys are going to have strong starts to their pro season. That's why in a strong draft, it was clear that they were 1-2, and it was a matter of, up until the last 5 minutes, who are you taking? So I don't think you can really go wrong either way. I think Peterson and Dybantsa are going to have both strong rookie seasons.
Right. Lots of what ifs, lots of it depends. Wendy, what are your thoughts?
This is going to be the Rookie of the Year odds are going to be fascinating. And, it's very unique what's happened with Washington and Utah because both organizations are under pressure from their ownership to flip it. And fast, because that's why they made those trades last year. That's why they went in for Jaren Jackson. That's why Anthony Davis and Trae Young got traded there. They got those players and then shut them down because they needed to get the high draft pick, but they needed to have the all-stars in-house so that they could immediately flip it because the organizations are tired of losing. So they're going to, from day one, when these teams report for training camp, it's going to be let's make the playoffs in both places. Whether they articulate that or not is a different story, but they're going to try to win, and that's going to impact exactly how much responsibility is going to be put on these guys. When games are coming down to it, I'm not sure Dybantsa and Peterson are going to have the ball. The ball is going to be with the veterans who they need to win the game. So it's judging that. And then you look at the fact that Caleb Wilson and Cameron Boozer, I believe, are going to put up enormous numbers for teams that are totally going to be built around them with no worry about wins and losses. We could have a fascinating race. What I will say is two things that happened in this last week that I think were very impressive. One from the Jazz, Keontae George, their incumbent point guard, who's in position to get a contract extension and is kind of being threatened, you would think, by Peterson coming in. He fully leaned in 100% to this position of bonding with Peterson, to the point where he was at all of their training camp practices and tried to be one of the coaches of the Jazz Summer League team until the NBA said, you're not allowed to be a coach as a player, sir, and just said sit on the bench. Secondly, I really applaud the move that the Wizards made to bring in Chris Middleton to be the vet for AJ Dybantsa. I can tell you already that Dybantsa and Chris Middleton have really connected. They paid him a little bit of extra money to do it because there were other teams that wanted to have Middleton go play for them this year, and Middleton had to want to accept that role. But I can't think of a better guy to bring in to educate and teach a player like Dybantsa than a player like Chris Middleton. So I love the situation that they're walking into. I just don't know if they're going to get the same freedom to have 25 shots a game like some other rookies, top picks would get.
Oh, Wendy, I feel your passion through the screen, so I'm really, really excited.